Hey there, how's it going? I hope you're doing great. In this session, I'm going to explore and navigate the four language skills. Any language that is a language at all needs to consist of these four skills to be a complete package. Two of these skills to the left of our slide, they are reading and listening, and they're called and construed as the input skills. In other words, they are the receptive skills. They are those skills that the learner receives either actively or passively. It is obviously better to be receiving actively and sort of being conscious and noticing of the patterns that we either listen or we read. And the other two skills to the right of the slide are speaking and writing. They are the output. They are the productive skills, right? And let me make some interpretations and connections between these. The first two and the second two. The first two I mean by the inputs. So if you are wishing and dreaming to be able to speak fluently and naturally and even authentically, or even write the same, then you need to take in mind and bear in mind the quality and quantity of the inputs. It's really, really of paramount importance to be qualitatively and quantitatively receiving. The more you receive, the better your outputs. Okay. And let me start with the first receptive element, and that is reading. Reading, as Stephen Krushen, the second language acquisition expert, says in one of his interviews, that reading is actually by far the best skill in order to improve your vocabulary and overall English proficiency. Reading extensively and reading in the right way, obviously. And once we pick a book, let's say this book that I have, the 1984 novel by George Orwell, it is a skill in order to know how to read. Basically, it is not a rocket science. It's not that difficult to know how to read. Obviously, you just need to be conscious, present, engaged, curious. And if you are in your beginning stages into reading books, you need to have some sort of a dictionary in order to look up meanings of vocabularies that are cumbersome and difficult and challenging for you. I mean, let me open just the introduction and give you a taste as to how it is done. So it says George Orwell's life as a writer falls distinctly into two parts. All right, so maybe the word distinctly is sort of new and novel to you. So what you do is instead of just closing the book and getting a notebook or flashcard and write it down, you just it is more convenient just to highlight it or underline it or just look it up and then put it into the history of any app that you're using, any dictionary. I'm suggesting Longman Dictionary or any AI model, but Longman obviously is not an AI model, but I think it's a very convenient dictionary to be using. All right, so you're writing distinctly. So first of all, go to the part of speech. Okay, it is, it looks like an adverb. And then distinct, what could it mean? Could it mean differently? Okay, distinct, different, unique. Okay, so then you just look it up. Okay, in the context, you try to get to the meaning of it. Then you move on so that you're not interrupted so frequently that you're going to lose all energy to continue. So you continue, and then it says in the other paragraph, the decision was a contradiction. Okay, contradiction. So you sort of try to get the meaning in the context, right? Contra Contrasting, contradiction, contradictory. If you couldn't get the meaning through the context, you could just look it up. Okay, it looks like a paradox, two things that are against each other. So, and then you move on. Maybe in the other page, you're going to see the same word contradiction, and then that lets it sink in more, and you'll get a better understanding. Because one of the keys about vocabulary that are being solidified and strengthened mostly by reading is to being exposed to it very frequently, to see it in multiple places, different places, and frequently. In that way, you're going to get it into your long-term memory and retrieve it at the drop of a hat whenever you need it. Okay, this is one of the ways in which you can improve your vocabulary in reading. And then sometimes you can improve your pronunciation also through reading. For example, you could read it out loud, or you have the audiobook of it. It's very, very interesting and effective to play the audio and just look how the particular words are pronounced and when they're connected to each other, how they're pronounced, the intonation, and all of that, all the package of pronunciation. Read a whole novel through listening and sometimes pause it and repeat as the reader and reciter is saying it. Okay, this is going to hugely improve your pronunciation, and that honestly has been one of my most effective ways in helping me understand the nuances of pronunciation and speaking them sort of naturally. Okay, this is one way to improve your readings, and you improve your pronunciation as well as vocabulary through it. And sometimes read with the with your eye and the eye of your mind as well, as opposed to reading it out loud, because it's gonna make it make it slower. So you just read it with your eye. You try to train your eye to go from one sentence to the other with keeping the meaning intact. You're not going to just try to finish one sentence and going and jumping to the other sentence. You're also trying to understand what is being said. Okay, this is reading. And just let me note to you and bring your concentration to the word skill. And simply put, skills are improved through practice. If anything it is a skill, then the way to improve it is through practicing it. But please also remember, practice doesn't make perfect as much as it makes permanent. If you're practicing in the wrong way, maybe you are falling into a dead end, a rock, okay? Because you may learn it in the wrong way. Imagine you've practiced so much in the incorrect way that it takes lots of practice and unwinding in order to get back to the right track and to learn it in the right way. So practice in the right way so that you make it permanent perfectly, not imperfectly, the best you can do. Okay, the other input skill is listening. And you just have to ask yourself, how do I improve my listening? If you're an intermediate learner, then go to authentic materials and immerse yourself in it. Okay, go to listen to audiobooks and podcasts without stoppage. I mean, you could listen and watch a podcast for 2 or 3 hours. Just immerse yourself in the culture and in the language. Or you could just watch the TV shows, the movies, documentaries, any listening content possible out there. You're going to try to expose yourself to them. Mostly try to do it consciously and pay attention to the patterns. And over time, it becomes a subconscious process. And you get just you naturally understand things. And listening is really linked to speaking, and reading is more directly linked to writing. Although they're all interpenetrated and interconnected, but the two, listening and speaking, are more connected and intertwined. And reading and writing are more intertwined. For listening a lot, as I said, and listen with quality. Then with speaking, obviously, as it is a practice, whatever you're getting from the inputs, all the contents you have been exposed to, you try to utilize them in your speaking. So join speaking clubs, discussion clubs, and currently in my online academy, Nexus Academy, I'm launching in 2 weeks, most probably, a discussion club on literature. So literary books are being chosen and selected carefully. And over a span of, let's say, 1 or 2 months, we will have discussions once in a week for 2 hours, discussing the main themes and main vocabularies and expressions that are there. And that way, you're going to be able to use advanced vocabularies and not only the mediocre normal lexicons. Okay, this is speaking. Practice it through different mediums. As for writing, again, you can keep a personal journal in which you're writing, about your day, about your week, about your plans. It is very convenient to have a journal handy, and you can write about any topic that you could be interested, or imagine you have learned a couple of words on a specific area, and try to be using that these bunches of words in a particular piece of writing. And for that, you basically need to know the basics of paragraph. It is better and more recommended to know, which is not difficult to be honest. And then you could build on it and use. This is our key term: utilize, employ, implement the words that you have gained through your inputs. Because as I said, the inputs are your foundation. If you're ignoring your inputs, listening and reading, then I think you better lower your expectations in terms of the proficiency of your outputs. Yes, these are basically a basic, introduction to these four skills and the ways in which they can be improved. But they're, as I said, they're not rocket science to be improving. They're just, skills with right practice and the right amount of hours dedicated to them. And, you just have to sacrifice sometimes from your hours, from your available time, and even money needs to be spent in order to really learn anything to a high degree. Okay. Then we have which skills hardest? In my own experience, from the research that I've read, scratching the surface, speaking could be by far the hardest. Because it is a production. Obviously, the production, the outputs are more challenging than inputs. So, yeah, speaking could be the hardest. So if you're not able to speak as much as you are able to understand, then that don't take it with a grain of salt and don't make a huge fuss about it. It's just the natural, aspect of the experience. Grammar and vocabulary, why they matter, and how to improve them. Basically, in one video that I posted in YouTube, I have extensively talked about how to improve a vocabulary. And just to say some little things about their status in language learning, grammar, imagine it being the wall of the building of language, and vocabulary being the bricks. So without the bricks, without the walls, we can't basically have any of the skills that we've been talking about, obviously, right? This is, crystal clear. And the way to improving them, as I said, the inputs, focus a lot on the inputs, right? Because you will receive them naturally once you are exposed to lots of authentic materials. And just let me give a prime example right now. Once you're reading, a lot of pages, different novels, then you get exposed to the structures of grammar. Imagine we have the tenses. Imagine present tenses, present simple. If you get it directly from a grammar book, you may not have it in context. That's a problem, right? But once you get it from a book, you could be exposed to the structure of present simple, as an example, hundreds of times in the span of a book, and hundreds of times of the most essential vocabularies within a novel. All right. So you get exposed to them so much that it'll become second nature. I mean, we have a generative box that can produce sentences that could get activated and creative through being given a lot of materials with attention and proper self-consciousness when you're conscious while receiving them. Then the process will take on a subconscious turn. So the wall is grammar, the bricks are the vocabulary, and they're really crucial. By the way, to go about them, I could give a presentation regarding how to specifically improve them. But for the timing, I mean that could be enough. Speaking of building, we could get the element of decoration. I mean, imagine the building is there, the bricks are the most quality, but it lacks something really crucial, and that is the beauty of it. And that lends me to the element of pronunciation. Could be British, could be American, depending on your taste, but try to get an accent, which is not the end of the day. I mean, you could still have a roof, right? But imagine the roof being beautiful, the walls being decorated and embroidered and embellished. So that is pronunciation. And listen a lot. That's going to directly and hugely help you with pronunciation. And also the technique of shadowing is also an additional way to improve pronunciation. You're hearing a native speaker talking about something, then imagine they're finishing a line, then you pause it, then you listen to it and repeating it, trying your best to mimic it and train your muscles to get to the core of the sentence. And there are obviously other ways to go about it, but my focus was on the four language skills. And for the pronunciation, I could again make videos about it in order to to get a clearer idea as to how to be improved and why they are really important. Thank you so much for listening. That's pretty much about it for this lesson.